Today we're talking about the new Hulu film, Books of Blood, so let's get started. You journey into uncharted and forbidden territory through three tales tangled in space and time. Welcome back everybody to another Halloween special. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming videos. Today we're going to talk about the new Hulu film, this anthology film, Books of Blood, which is based off of an anthology book series written by Clive Barker from the 1980s. That ran for 6 volumes, and each volume had multiple stories within it. These are all short stories. The film is about an hour and 47 minutes long and focuses on 3 different characters, Jenna, Miles, and Bennett. And each of them have a separate story regarding the Books of Blood, and it's all kind of connected at the end of the film. Clive Barker is known for Hellraiser and a lot of bloody stories, and this film definitely has some blood within it. But when I think of Clive Barker and I think of like Hellraiser, I think of a lot more blood. I feel like this movie was a little more tame in regards to the blood from which I've seen before in previous Clive Barker movies. But I really did enjoy Books of Blood. Each story had a significant part to the overall story of the film. The first 2 stories, which focused on Jenna and Miles, had a lot more runtime compared to the end part of the story, which was focused on Bennett, but his story connected to the beginning of the story. So maybe I'll just review it part by part just because there's only 3. So we had Jenna, who is played by Britt Robinson, and I think she's an overlooked actress. I think she's really talented. In this movie, she has this sheer terror what she is experiencing. She goes to like this bed and breakfast and she starts to uncover things in the walls, and it's really terrorizing her, and the look on her face really sells her character and her situation. She lays awake at night and she's just terrified of what is happening. But I really like that story the most out of all 3 that was in this movie. I thought it had a lot of disturbing images and a lot of hidden things within this house. And I've never read any of these anthology book series, so I'm going into it completely blind, and it really did shock me. I wasn't really prepared for what was going to happen, so a lot of it came as a surprise to me, and I thought the plot had taken a really drastic turn at the end of the movie, but it took the character and her fears and what she is dealing with in her own life before going to this like bed and breakfast, and how it affects her choices and what is happening with her. So I like the first part of the movie the most with Jenna. Then we transition into Miles' story, and I thought that was pretty well too. And all of these ones feel like short stories. They don't feel very long. They get to the point really quick. They offer the bloody moments. They offer the characters all in a fast pace, because you only have an hour and 47 minutes to fit essentially 3 stories within here. But Miles, we have a college professor who meets a medium, and he is able to connect with her son who had died from cancer. She starts to learn a little more things about Simon, who's able to connect with Miles, and we learn a lot of things regarding that, and they start to use that for their own gain. We have a story that shifts throughout its short runtime, about only like 40-ish minutes long, if that. But I like the way that it took it. That one ultimately fell flat at the end. I wanted just a little more from that story. I could easily see some of these being a feature-length film, you know, having a lot more depth to it, a lot more development for the characters. It was one I ultimately think fell flat at the end. I could see what they were going for, and it did work. I liked the story within it. I just think it felt very underdeveloped, and that's what the struggle is with having an anthology film like this, is you got to cram so many different plot points and characters and stories within here. I think that one didn't benefit from having a short runtime. The first one did, the second one not so much. And the third story, which focused on Bennett, brought a lot of connection to the story in Books of Blood. He was actually looking for the Book of Blood, and that one definitely felt like it was the wrap up to the story and the quickest one. I think it got the least amount of screen time. It was a little bit in the beginning, and it really did feel like a wrap up. I don't really find any significance to Bennett's character and his story, rather than looking for this Book of Blood and then trying to connect it into the previous two stories. I feel like it was easily the weakest part of the story. I much rather would have just focused on Jenna and Miles' story as well. But we did get Bennett in there, and it was a nice wrap up to the overall movie, but easily the weakest part of the film. Now, the blood in here, there is a lot of blood. But like I said, I feel like it's a little bit tamed back compared to what I've seen for Hellraiser and other Clive Barker adaptations. But what we did get was very disturbing. There's a lot of gore, a lot of things that are happening to people's bodies. And all it does feel like a Clive Barker story, with having seen most of the Hellraiser films and how those things are just gory and they're just torturing people's bodies. This film has moments just like that, and I really get a Clive Barker feel from this movie. And I know these are based off of an anthology book series that ran from, I think, from 1984 to 1985, and they had 6 volumes. But not having read those, I can't make any connections to the book and this movie, but I do get that vibe, the dark, gory moments within the film. Overall, Books of Blood was entertaining. It does feel like a good Halloween film. There are some parts that were rather weak, some parts were rather strong. It's kind of a hit and miss at times for me. Parts fell flat and very thin, while others had a really strong story within it. And I think the film could have benefited for maybe 20 more, 30 more minutes, round out some of these stories, strengthen some of these characters, and it would have been a lot more rewarding. But overall, I did enjoy the film, and I would like to read some of the short stories that he has written. I went through and looked at some of them, not read any, read the synopsis, and I think that some of them would be really interesting to read. So when you guys get a chance to see Books of Blood on Hulu, make sure to check it out. It's an anthology horror movie, about an hour and 47 minutes, but each moment does feel very quick, so it's a pretty quick watch. I'm going to go ahead and give Books of Blood a B-. Thank you guys for checking out another Halloween special for Books of Blood. Check it out when it hits Hulu, and let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up-and-coming videos. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay spooky, YouTube.